It is Wednesday, but we're faking it. Um, this is Trekland HQ, and we are live. Prodigy, Cadet Alice, and some Star Trek thoughts from SoonerCon. All on today, episode 314 of Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of, from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 and all things Trekland Treks. You know, for the big picture, clarity, and sanity in all things Star Trek. Um, yes, a day late for the 4th of July holiday and also a little recovery time because we had been gone, the whole family. That assistant script coordinator and I were gone for 11 days, and then the holiday, and all that with Cadet Alice, and we were back home with family and centered around SoonerCon convention. So I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody everybody. I can't talk. I'm a little rusty. Hope everybody stateside here had a happy 4th. You celebrated, mindful of whatever your take on it was, and didn't get too red like I did. Oh, over here, yeah. But whatever, we've been gone a week, and we had the holiday, so it's good to see you. Yes, it's a Wednesday. We'll be back. I'll be on the road again next week, but we'll be back on Tuesday again. And lots happened. In fact, this is part of the theme today. Cadet Alice and I jumped on in an emergency session on the road from my guest bedroom at my brother's house to talk about what's up with Star Trek Prodigy. But hey, it's a Wednesday and we've been gone a week. But if you managed to find your way here today, thank you so much. I hope if you're new to Trekland Tuesdays Live and all that, just know that you should jump in the chat. We've got awesome TTLers here. In fact, they're so awesome. I'm even going to do the justice here of bringing my microphone over closer. Maybe that would be nice. All righty, there we go. Yes. So, we have a great community here, and we are global, as you should know. And here's the thing. If you are coming to us on YouTube or even Twitch, you're going to see all the chat in the chat room. If you're coming on Facebook, okay, but you'll only see the Facebook chat. All right. And of course, if you're watching us live, if you're watching us later, I'd like you to join us live if you can sometime. You can leave a comment whenever you come across this recording, the edited or the full blown. But there you go. Yeah. I could not believe we were flying on a Friday. Denver is midway. We get off the airport Friday, and here comes my inbox with all the news about Prodigy. Now, I mentioned this already. Cadet Alice and I did an emergency, a not scripted, not episode-based episode, the first time we've done any of those things, much less not filmed here in the studio in Trekland HQ. And of course, she was a trooper. I had to explain the concepts of cancellation and streaming and co-partners, all that stuff. Innocence lost, I guess. But she was as much, disappointed and aggrieved and angry. In 2 days, she picked up her Okie accent. But also just about all the ways to go find support. Now, that's been a while. That's been 10 days. The world has recovered from that. What's been interesting, and what I started to see the next weekend, having rolled over even the Trek contingent at SoonerCon, which is there in Norman. This was SoonerCon 32, I think. They weren't all annual consecutives, but it's been that many since the restart in 2007. A lot of people, not so much, even if they weren't fans of Prodigy, a lot of people wishing they were fans, a lot of people wishing they had seen it. Apparently, the DVD and Blu-ray sets are basically sold out around the States and in many countries. It's getting harder and harder to find them. The online sites are finding sellouts. A lot of the retail places have sold out. So good luck on that. Ironically, of course, only one set, mine's over there, has been out on hard media, and it's only 10 episodes. So even the 10 episodes you saw aren't on media. And of course, we're used to cancellations. We're used to Sturm and Drang. We're used to being on the bubble. It's not fair. But with Nickelodeon as a partner on on Prodigy. And with the second season of 20 episodes basically wrapped and no one's seen them yet, it's a prime candidate, a prime customer to be picked up somewhere. So Aaron Walke, the brothers Hageman, Dan and Kevin, a lot of the staff are hopeful that those aren't going to go the way of Batgirl. But there's a lot of angst out there, a lot of, hand wringing, a lot of anger about the fact that, once again, the reason behind the strike here, that entertainment, Hollywood, is not so much driven by people's individual successes and sometimes not so successes, but about growth and growth charts and the bottom line financial and Wall Street and investors. It's nothing to do with the quality of the product, but about what the balance sheet shows quarter to quarter, which is insane. And Netflix is the one that drove the streaming engine, but eventually you're going to top out. Just like eventually in the old days, everyone's eventually going to have a phone. Everyone's eventually going to have a TV. And everyone eventually is going to be streaming that's going to stream. So that engine of numbers that Netflix harnessed the last 5-6 years that, blew up in the pandemic. I mean, yay, but pandemic's over. Now they're all scrambling. And Paramount Plus, from what I hear from the Star Trek writers, has not been one of the more unkind places to have a full writer's room, to not abuse the writers egregiously. And we've had some great Star Treks. We have had some learning curve Star Trek, I will say. And we've had awesome content. Oh, I hate saying that. We've had awesome entertainment across all the channels. But as Netflix is kind of the leader and the revolutionary in this mix, the AMPTP, the producers as a bargaining unit, are all together. But I would say the individual members are not all the same. The techier ones, and I'm sorry, Apple looking at you, and a little bit there on Prime and Hulu too, they're the ringleaders in what is seen as blowing up. Now, we've talked about the strike here before, but it's interesting how some of these same issues are in the atmosphere and what's affecting the strike issues with the employees, with the actors and the writers and the directors, even though they've settled and are voting. But what's affecting customers and customer base and profits and just the way they handle their product. And we're starting to get the idea maybe they were throwing everything on the wall to see what stuck from day one. So here it's landed in our lap in Star Trek land. And what you were starting to see online, and I know I'm 10 days behind this, so let me catch up. These are all issues that somehow Dr. Trek and Cadet Alice talked about. And if you haven't gone over to my YouTube channel to see the latest Cadet Alice, which we called Red Alert, which she loved, by the way. She loved having an episode called Red Alert. But that's what it was. And we actually got through all these issues and what fans can do to support. And that's what a lot of the fandom, blogosphere and the fandom tubosphere has been talking about the last 10 days. What I'm updating is just how it was how it was affecting us and to see all that blowing up while we were on the road. So I'm very proud of us and of Cadet Alice for jumping in and recording something on the side of the bed. That said, when we got to SoonerCon, so a weekend later, these are all the issues. The issues are reflecting there just as much as they are everywhere. And they'd had a week to percolate online, including the bottom line, which I started to say, people who aren't even big Prodigy fans. Maybe they've never watched it. Maybe they thought it was just the kids' show, despite our protest to the contrary and our promotion of the thing, especially the second half of the first season, which isn't out on hard media. Two things. Number one, what really got everybody's goat was not so much the fact that it was even canceled, but the fact that it was wiped away. Paramount Plus wiped, ostensibly saying the merger with Showtime, which is the old CBS answer to HBO, the premium channels they used to be called. And increasing in a streaming world, the streaming, as HBO did on its own, going to HBO Max and not so much the linear model, although someone's got to be on the TV in the hotel rooms, as we just found out again. Try explaining to your kid or your grandkid who grew up with streaming channels how linear TV guides work and why you can't just watch anything anytime you want to. Oh, we missed it. What do you mean we missed it? Yeah. No, that's ostensibly Paramount Plus and Showtime's merger by the same corporate owners is what caused caused a shortage of space on the streaming app. But so four series have been canceled, including a Star Trek, which I don't think the bean counters and suits quite realized that slot on the wall. It's not just another show. It's part of the Star Trek history. It's part of the Star Trek empire. It's part of the Stack O series that people expect to go back to, especially if you market yourself as the home of all Star Trek. I love watching every answer back to Paramount Plus for days and days and days. The home of Star Trek. Have you checked lately? Check your inbox. Oh, I mean, all the sarcasm. As well it should. They gotta come up with another byline. They've got to come up with another tagline now. They can't keep saying the home of all Star Trek. And glitches. I didn't get to check it myself. At one point, season 4 of Enterprise went away. I don't know. But again, even if you weren't, for those who weren't a Prodigy watcher, a Prodigy fan, may not have been so riled up when Prodigy was canceled, you did not have to be a rocket scientist to realize that if one season of one of the Star Treks just went away like that, faster than a Q flash, what's to stop the original series from going? What's to stop DS9 from disappearing? What's not to stop selected seasons of shows going away? It makes no sense, especially of the legacy shows, if they're not seen to be that. I mean, what is the deal? What is the deal? Will Picard go away now that it's a dead show? And that's what sounded the red alert throughout Star Trek fandom and streaming. And that's what got people, a lot of people were regretting not having seen Prodigy, but that's what's led to the big Prodigy buyout of the hard media. And so, yeah, hashtag Save Star Trek Prodigy has become an online thing, but it's woke everybody. Stay woke, I say, and it's awokened everybody in Trek world. And I'm probably across all the interwebs, all the streaming fandoms, that this, you would think streaming would be the most secure place to have it, that you could go. That's the whole point. Why else sell yourself as the individual home of your own products, which is even crazier. You're not even an independent carrier who decides to dump, the whole Netflix and Prime dance back and forth just here in the States, much less around the globe. Why build out Paramount Plus around the globe if you're not going to still be the home of all Star Trek? So, yeah, those have all been in the zeitgeist. And I'm just saying, here we are midweek now. This was still continuing to roll over. So SoonerCon, Norman, Oklahoma, is multi-genre, multi-franchisal. It's heavy into anime and gaming. It's the bones of a good old sci-fi con, which still has the artist guest of honor and the art show and literary folks and writing panels, but the tech is there too. The game room is both tabletop and video, but heavy on anime. I was holding down the Star Trek fort this year with the help of one of my best old friends and colleagues, and one of the hirelings that I brought to Star Trek, and his would-be partner then, Dayton Ward, but Kevin Dillmore. So there were a couple of us, and we were repping the Trek. And I had several Trek panels. So here's one of the themes you would think at a mixed blood con like that. It wasn't like going to Trek Vegas or even like San Diego or another huge Comic-Con. It was a small Comic-Con feel vibe place. So I have 1 or 2 panels a day. We're talking about everything Trekland, of course. But I did my State of the Trek fan forum, and a lot of you have seen us do that everywhere from Vegas, a couple of years down to even San Diego. But wherever I go, trying to, for this very reason. Basically, it's a living comment thread. I'll kick it off, throw out some headlines, make sure everybody knows where I'm coming from, and then it's open floor. And this is the feeling that's permeating everywhere. And on one hand, this is no stranger to everybody following along online. But I say a lot of times, online fandom is not the same as armchair fandom. It's a slice. And same thing with convention fandom, even though this was about as hometown as you could get. Good old SoonerCon there in central Oklahoma, all of Oklahoma. But still, the same threads and memes I'm seeing everywhere online when I was able to be online this last week, catching up madly. You saw the same sentiment, and people are not stupid. They get it. They get what this means. It's almost like Frankenstein's monster. What has Netflix created here? And to your Wall Street masters. And you can go over the top of the hyperbole. I can sound like I am a talking points bulletin here for the Writers Guild or the Actors Guild, although it's true. And it's already been happening, and basically the same thing has happened in every industry that's been bought up and run by financiers demanding a quarter-over-quarter gain, whether you're doing anything or good or not. If it's a gimmick that got you there, they don't care next year. Many would say it's what's the problem with American business and the economy right now. So here we are micro-focusing on one of the most successful. What is one of the things that America still exports to the world? Is the leader. Even above arms sales. I mean, a lot of the rest of the world still grows food. We're up there. No, entertainment. Nobody makes TV shows and movies like America. And that is why we're seeing them. People can't stand it, but we're seeing a lot of foreign influence in the casting and the formatting. You're also seeing that whole raft of the dramas that are made, they're staged, they're cast, they are filmed, they're dark, so that they can be easily dubbed. And you know what I'm talking about. The last 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, we're losing out there. But still, you have to, nobody drives pop culture, for good or ill, like the U.S. And it's amazing that this is one of the last industries, partly because Hollywood was so unionized, and that's why people were happy in their jobs. They had a ceiling. They could afford to have a house and a family and raise their kids and work in entertainment. They didn't have to sacrifice. We need to do something about our real estate cost of living in LA. We need to do something about the politicians not letting all of our productions leave, because the Georgias of the world and Louisianas, the Canadas, are all offering such a huge tax break to produce. But still, that's some of the issues that are going on here. It's funny how we sit in here and talk about the Parrot Analytics and these other trying to get a handle just on popularity, just for bar talk, just for party debates. But it's more than that for the folks that work for them. It's funny how we sit here and try to get a handle on popularity of shows in the post-Nielsen world, post-commercials world, or the dying dinosaur of network TV. And the same things we wonder about are actually affecting people's paychecks. So I'm back home at SoonerCon, 5,000 people total. But I've got, number one, I've done my Trek panels for 10, 12 years since the rebirth, right? In the fallow years and then post-discovery. Now we have fresh Trek every week. We're not going to have that now. But for a year or two there, we had a golden age with so much Trek out there, and it's had an impact. I tweeted this on Instagram. I had the biggest turnout for the State of the Trek fan forum was I saw more people wearing Star Trek uniforms, wearing modern Star Trek uniforms. I talked to a guy in his 30s that swore up and down Enterprise was his favorite Trek, and he would live and die on that hill. And I said, no one's forcing you to live or die anywhere. But no, I saw flashback season 1 Picard, Raffian Picard, synth attack uniforms. It was great. Now, Star Trek cosplay didn't take over the con. It was still very heavy teenage girls and anime. But still, there was a bigger Star Trek presence in the vibe, in the zeitgeist, visually, and in the numbers at my panels, which were all Star Trek, no mix-overs, and especially in the comments. Now, I felt bad for Cadet Alice because it was on Friday and most of the kids weren't there till Saturday, including some of her cousins. So she didn't have the biggest turnout of kids in her. She saw lots of adults. But and we did just fine. Thank you very much. And I'll put up some pictures a little bit later. But in my Trek panels in State of the Trek forum, and on Sunday when I had we did Friday. Kevin and I did a Tales from the Licensing Trail for Star Trek. It was the first thing at noon on Friday. Not the biggest crowd. There were still 20, 30 folks. But the con wasn't in full swing, so that almost doesn't count. But for my hardcore Picard Season 3 art panel, I don't know. There were 40, 50, 60 people there. State of the Trek had 3/4 of a room, and lots of opinions flying back and forth. And yes, the whole Prodigy debacle and what it meant for people who weren't even watching Prodigy, how it woke the world up. And people were not happy about it. A lot of people are not happy because they say, I stuck with you, Paramount Plus. I wanted to build the Trek brand. I wanted to build your, obviously you have to have money to make the shows. Obviously after that first Netflix deal, that wasn't going to keep happening. That launched Discovery and let them pay for the $7 million Klingon ship sets, with the little Klingon shields and the little trifoils and every little footpad of every little. Okay. That wasn't going to happen again. People who felt like they'd been loyal all along are saying, okay, no more. Now, that's not a stampede, but I can't blame them. It's going to happen again. You see the cattle at that stampede. They're all kind of pulled up and everybody's kind of smelling the air to see what's happening next. If, I don't know, I haven't been able to read the trades. I got to get caught up. But if some of this, if this message, if the hashtag Save Star Trek Prodigy campaign, if all the punditry, if all the podcasts, if the live streams, if the trade show pundits aren't pointing it out, much less the fans, if the columnists for Variety and Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, if they're not, and the media reporters at some of the bigger units like LA Times, New York Times, if they're not pointing out that apparently this whole empire for all the streaming industry is built on shaky ground, and if it's able to flip-flop this quickly, then maybe there should be a retrenchment, or maybe there should be, look at this, but at least put everybody on their guard. This is not just magic, bad mojo falling from the sky. Here's what's happening, and there will be real-world consequences. You've nurtured this expectation, this level of content. We all knew big TV, cinematic TV, wasn't going to last forever. I feel like I'm paraphrasing Will here, talking about the Roaring 20s. This big drunk that we were on of big TV, more than you could ever watch. We may be watching new shows for 10 years, people finally catching up with what was produced in the last 5-6 years. Even with the pandemic, making your TV time a little more than it had been. So I don't know what I'm stirring up here. What I'm trying to say here is that there's a whole confluence of feelings out there where a year ago people were just happy-dappy and thrilled to have so much Trek. And then in the bigger picture also, as we see with the strike dissatisfaction, as we see with the rumblings at the other studios. The old brick and mortars are even being bought out. The old studios are all just their own control. Paramount and Paramount Plus rumors are out there about Netflix, about buyers. God forbid. I saw something here about Netflix maybe licensing some of its shows to HBO Max. Are we about to blow up the boxes of thought? Just getting used to this. The revolution in the last 15 years, first the premium channels and then streaming and cable cutting to save money until everybody is subscribing to 8 channels, and where are the savings? 8 streaming platforms. The consolidation is going to happen, but we don't need stupid. We don't need produced shows for a tax write-off short term where they are forced. Now, at least Paramount Plus didn't outright own all 100% lock, stock, and barrel of Prodigy, say the way Warner's did Batgirl. So with Nickelodeon having a stake in it, yay. Nickelodeon, another arm of the giant Paramount family here, but they're definitely doing things on their own. If we can get Nickelodeon's chunk to go land it somewhere, and not much less, get the second season aired, get it back on Invisible, much less have the second season aired, and then talk about a season 3. Because of course the guys and gals, the producers, all have their season 3 plan. They have a season 4 plan, I'm sure. And they're waiting. They have been waiting. Season 2 was wrapped as of basically the last finishing touches were coming in April. Had a very nice mini tour and sit down with Aaron Walke. Caught me up on the situation. And in April, end of April into May, They were on the bubble waiting for news about season 3. They knew they had a plan B if they were canceled. No one foresaw this whole wipe it off the platform. So no, Paramount Plus is not the home of all Star Trek. Lots of folks are just getting around to realizing what we say when we say Prodigy was not just for kids. If you watch the first hour or the first episode or two, didn't care for it, didn't think it felt Star Trek, it doesn't. It's very Star Warsy at the beginning until the child slave miners make their escape and hologram Janeway pops up. Spoilers. And once they hit that ship and she's teaching them, and you have little Star Trek 101, Federation History 101 lessons in the midst of this very delightful plot. And the closer you get to the end of the first 10, and I will still say the best not time travel, but time anomaly plot was on Prodigy, Time Amuck, and the explanation graphically. And some of you in the chat are going to know this. By the way, yes, I've been on a tear. I will do this. I will get off the platform here. I'll give up the soapbox. We'll do a quick break. If you've been waiting, why am I ignoring the chat? Hopefully someone else in the chat told you. We'll jump headlong into the chat, and I'll even re-scroll back, okay? I just wanted to cover this ground. I was just very impressed with the diversity of opinions. Here's the thing. Sometimes we think about online world. We think about online world being uniform, right? And I have to say, online fandom is not armchair fandom. What was fascinating about going to SoonerCon, not Trek Vegas, not San Diego, not New York Comic Con, not some of the other large cons, not Long Island Trek now, was some of the minority views didn't feel so minority. Now, I love Picard Season 3, but I heard from at least 3 different people in completely unrelated situations when the topic came up, including at the fan forum. I basically would throw it and I'd say, did the whole world, did everybody here fall down madly in love, just do a meltdown over Picard Season 3? And I had some people say, no, they didn't dislike it, but they didn't see what all the big fuss was about. They didn't say, oh, it was just member berries and nostalgia porn. I mean, they got it. They just and they saw it as a series, not 2 series and then an anomaly third. But this is what happens when you get out and talk to actual individuals and not just, now obviously the numbers were there. Even if you critique AC Nielsen ratings trying madly to come back with a digital rating system, and you can still critique the flaws in that. Whatever it is, it's at least apples to apples, and for the last 4 or 5 years they've been working on it. You can't deny this is the first time that Picard, any Star Trek, broke through to that system. You can critique it, but under the same system, none of the other Star Treks, Discovery and Strange New, didn't, much less the animateds. So there is that. It's not like these are just made up numbers. But when you get out and even talk to people live at a con, not only does the negativity, the toxic idiocy goes away, as you kind of am glad to know in your gut, but also you just start getting back into some more nuance of opinion. You're able to get back and hear actual people talk and give you their reasons. And nobody's fighting. There's no gatekeeping, and there's no scorekeeping either. Well, I can't say no. I'm sure there is in some quarters. But to actually have a fan forum, actually have our State of the Trek, and be able to hear people talk and hear the anger about Prodigy, and hear how many people never laid eyes on a single frame of Prodigy, but they were pissed about it. They wanted to go buy. Some of them did. Some couple people in the room said, I went out and bought. I hadn't planned to, but I went out and bought a season. And then they were pissed to find out it wasn't even the full season. It was just the first 10. So yeah, all this recent turnabout in mood here since Prodigy, even among people who hadn't seen a lick of it, and wondering what that means for the future. Wondering what that means. Are we going to get a season 4 Strange New Worlds? What about Star Trek Legacy? I was worried about the Star Trek Legacy tsunami of support, actually dividing the pie instead of all of us pushing for what we want, for factions to take on each other. Oh, hold off on that Academy show. Who wants more of the 32nd century? Here's clearly what people want. Well, not necessarily. I talked to people who were thrilled about the Academy, and they were hoping it would be 32nd Century. And if it hasn't been officially declared, I'm like, well, what do you think Tilly and the Cadets was all about? Now, they've learned a ton of lessons on Discovery. I think it's been improved. You can see what the production team has learned on Discovery just watching Strange New Worlds being built, watching them employ the AV wall. The tech is driving some of this production. But how to write Star Trek as well. We'll see what happens to that. I'm thinking Section 31 is a 2-hour movie with Michelle Yeoh. I'm pretty much assured, if it hasn't been said already, that will be a pilot. It's a backdoor pilot, movie pilot, for an ongoing series for whatever sets and all that they build. But in whatever time period it makes it, which we still haven't heard yet. I'm just praying, and I'm starting to get inclinations this is true, that it's not Kirk time and it's not Picard, Cisco, Janeway, Lower Decks, Prodigy, Synth Attack. It's not that. I would love to get into another time between Archer and Kirk or between Kirk and Picard. I'm starting to hear maybe that's where Section 31 is. So that would be a redeeming quality in my book, and give a legitimate reason for having yet another set of props and uniform styles. That being said, with this retrenchment, I wonder if the effect on Section 31 will be, yes, here's the movie we promised. Michelle Yeoh can't film. She's got 5 years of bookings. She has this fall to film anyway. But is it an automatic turnover into a Michelle Yeoh-less, we set the cast up to take it forward? This may be actually a time when the pilot has to deliver. And if there's not the critical review and the numbers with it, it might actually not sell. It might just be a standalone movie that doesn't lead automatic. There is no automatic Farpoint Discovery Caretaker anymore, or even Strange New World, or even Vulcan Hello. There is no automatic I'm thinking. And that could be another aspect of this whole Paramount Plus retrenchment. Where does that leave Legacy? I don't know. This whole thing may be beyond Star Trek, its bosses and its fans' purview. This may be a greater streaming world issue, and the common sense and the prevailing wisdom, more non sequiturs. But that's that. But what I was thrilled to see is everybody back home was very much up on these issues. People have been thinking. There's a lot of nuance out there because nobody knows exactly what the straight and narrow path is going to be. We're going to be on this for months and months and months. We will not have fresh Trek every week of the year, especially with Prodigy gone, which is another factor that hit everyone. With Prodigy wiped off the platform, there's a whole 10 to 20 weeks they were counting on having fresh Trek. We'll have Lower Decks, I hope, after Strange New, but maybe from September, October, nothing until Discovery's final season is unrolled, because then you're into the effects from the strikes. And of course, we're waiting to see whether the actors follow the writers or whether the writers have to go it alone. We will know we'll know what's going on in a week. They extended the actors' strike until the 12th because they were actively negotiating. It could very well be that the writers were the canary in the coal mine. It already happened a little bit with the directors. They wouldn't even talk about some issues. Now they did with the directors, and they are with the actors. But of course, the actors' bottom line, aside from just the whole bureaucracy of how residuals are doled out, is the AI issue as well. That's all ahead of us. And here we are staring down the pike, looking at Comic-Con San Diego in a couple of weeks. And then, yes, Trek Vegas. We'll see everybody at both of those. I have a panel on Sunday at 1 with Picard creatives at Comic-Con San Diego. Are we allowed to talk about this yet? I think so. So if you're headed for San Diego, I'll be there all 5 days. Make sure you come to see our panel at 1 on Sunday. I want to firm up the panel because people are having commitments, but we've got live folks. We may even try to Zoom again. I'll see how that goes. But if you're headed that way, and then of course, Trek Vegas. And also to say, are we done today? Hopefully I threw a lot of crumbs out there. I just wanted to say that I'm sure in your neck of the woods, in your burg, if you're listening to me every week, then I'm hopefully, and some of the other smart folks who are on YouTube some of these industry issues that are intruding on, you just want to enjoy your Star Trek. But some of this industry crap, just like the writers' strikes have affected Next Gen, et cetera, over the years, all of that the industry and the tech level, the tech revolution, are this distribution models are going to affect the Star Trek that you do see when you just want to have your Star Trek and enjoy it. New and existing. New and existing. Who thought that Wall Street was going to affect the shows you like to watch already that are just sitting there, minding their own business, being made already? It's a crazy world, Grandpa. You can't take it with you. So there we go. Well, it's sort of going to be exciting diving into the big summer cons and into past Labor Day. We will see what the world brings us. And midway, I am so glad the world brought you to me. So listen, just a couple words here, because it is summer and people are traveling. Hopefully you're doing well with that. And I just want to remind everybody that if you are headed to LA or thinking about it, and you're a Trek person looking for a new kind of experience, then can I suggest, a Trekland Trek. Oh, this one doesn't have the logo on it. How did that happen? It's a day tour location sites, treklandtreks.com, or go to my website, larrynimachek.com. Check it out. There's over 50 locations. The famous, Vasquez Rocks, of course. Starfleet Academy at Tillman, although that's gotten hinky, but we'll work on it with just you. Hey, look, I'll send you the list. You work out. We'll go to 4 places in a day. Fast food. I'll pick you up in your hotel, take you back. We'll spend 6 hours together. I will support you in whatever you want to do, much less bathe you in all the info, all the deep diving that you could possibly do in a day from the info side and the awareness. The bottom line is it's just cool to stand in the places that are so iconic that you know. It's cool to take your own away mission. And we can do that. And if you're in town, if you're in SoCal for Comic-Con, or prep before or after, or prepping before and after Trek Vegas, let me know. Maybe you've got a group. We can do a group. I like to do 1, 2, 3 folks, but if you scare up 5, 6, 7, we'll get a van. We can do that. Sure. Just let me know. All right. And it's the time when, of course, I want to thank our TTLers. This is our Patreon supporters. I don't go full bore on this. I don't make it big because we've got other businesses that happen, but I want to give folks a chance to support what we're doing here on streaming as we grow. We're looking at having a guest next week again, somebody that will be a delight, someone you don't think about being in the Star Trek family until maybe the last month or so. You want to catch that with me next week. But again, thanks to all of our Patreon folks for helping out here. And I mean in the TTL Club, and I just got to see a couple of these folks. Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Glenda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jazemski. And yes, our live wires, our 2 levels, and the live wires like Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Habyard Gunn Johnson, Alan Hohenc, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. Thanks so much, gang. And you too can jump in. We just turned over a new month. So they take it out at the end of the month at patreon.com. Check /Trekland Live. You can find me. Again, very simple, $5-10. The 5 folks get a shout out. Everybody gets a shout out. The 10 o'clockers get access to the early archive of behind the scenes folks. First few years of Portal 47. And if you want to support us, we just picked up 3 new members of Portal at SoonerCon. I was so thrilled. If you're interested, check it out. You can go over to portal47.net or my homepage and do that. Of course, we'll be seeing you at San Diego and especially at Trek Vegas. And especially, despite all the vacation happening here, we have been marching right along with the Trek Files. This week, my friend Thomas Marone at Star Trek Online is on with us looking at some, guess what we're looking at. You want to check it out at the Trek Files on Facebook. That's where we have the docs. You can catch the audio wherever you catch fine podcasts. But hey, all of them from Roddenberry or at podcast.roddenberry.com, including, of course, Mission Log Live and all that. So we're going to take a short break in a second. But if you're leaving us now, if you're watching us later on YouTube, try to find your way here on a Tuesday afternoon. We're here. We've got folks from around the world, as the chat folks are seeing. But if you're catching us later, you also can leave a comment there, of course, on YouTube. Anywhere we are, though, here, like and subscribe if you would. Set the alert, ring the bell. But we're at Larry Nemechek's Trekland here and Instagram and Facebook. It's Larry Nemechek on Twitter and Mastodon. And portal47.net, as I said. Check us out. Portal 47 is the mini-con all year long. You will never have the post-con blues if we are bringing the best of backstage Star Trek, no matter where your center seat is in the world, okay? And we've got the TeePublic shop, too. If you enjoying having a little swag, that's cool. Brought some to Oklahoma this week, but the idea is to get it made to order, and you can do that too. Thanks, everybody. If you're leaving us now, if you're watching, so if you are leaving, and don't leave if you're live, but if you're leaving us now on YouTube, hey, just, stay healthy. That includes even use sunscreen when you should. And stay woke. Check the sources. It's still thick and fast out there. The deep fakes are going to become thicker and faster as well. What do I say? Oh, yes. Whatever you're doing, trek well, everybody. Now, don't go away, livers. We are going to dive into something I haven't done in a while. We have not checked in. These weeks of news headlines. And remember, I will back scroll. If you're new to us here, I'm going to back scroll as soon as we're done here. Haven't really looked at the parrots or at the modern parrots that the website TV Geek is running. And you know what? I didn't check the Prime. I did not check the Prime ratings for Strange New Worlds just to see what was happening. But I can tell you this, looking at what the past, the present, and the newsy shows, Strange New Worlds is into third. And by the way, check out Second Opinion. I should start reminding everybody, if you're not catching my Second Opinion, I wait like a day after the rush of current Thursday shows. So by Saturday afternoon, maybe you've seen everybody else's, then come over and get a Second Opinion from Dr. Trek and see how my opinion snatches against all the hot takes and the fresh takes. But no, looking at what's happening, with Strange New Worlds in the last 30 days on the old parrots, these are like 2 weeks old. They haven't been updated since June 16th. So Strange New mid-month after the first pilot was up at their average demand expression, their little algorithm they use. Basically, it's internet traffic and mentions and all that. And yeah, there's flaws in that too. They've been doing it for nearly 10 years, Parrot Analytics, in lieu of having hard and fast numbers, which even the Nielsen digitals don't provide. So it's a little apples and oranges. When you see a trend aligning, like with Picard, then you can kind of put a little trust in it. The Strange New curve, as of June 16th, for the month before, was up 50%. It's still in the outstanding, the upper 2.5% on Parrot. Now, Picard is declining. It's still standing at 24. These are the overalls. Now, we're going to get some updated numbers in a second. The demand is dropping down 19. Prodigy is hanging in at 13%. This is all from before the cancellation. The cancellation news came out on the 23rd. That's when the big reaction came. I was still curious to see if there were any numbers available, or at least where things were. Hopefully by next week, we'll see the post-cancellation and removal that I mentioned that they announced on Friday, and by Sunday evening, if not Monday, by Sunday evening, they were gone because they want to start off Monday fresh and clean with the Showtime merger. It's crazy. It's crazy. They basically gave people barely 2 days, maybe 3, to go to the site and keep watching Prodigy. Not even a protest mass around the clock viewing to run the meters didn't have enough time to gel. It was a done deal. So yeah, Prodigy's down a little bit, 3%. They're still sitting though at 13.8. They're still in the upper 2.5% 2 weeks ago. Now, again, as of the 16th, looking here at the digital onlys, sure, Strange New World, as of June 16th again, was sitting at number 6. Cool. That was the premiere week, right? So cool, at 33.4 in a clump with Titans, and I think you should leave with Tim Robinson. That's all a clunk right at 33, 34. The Witcher was at 37. Nobody is knocking it out of the park. Stranger Things and Ted Lasso are at 47 and 42-ish. That was that. And then the overalls, Flash, SpongeBob, Game of Thrones, Sesame Street. I mean, nothing is, it's summer viewing. Nothing is above 78 times the average show's score. Only one, Stranger Things, in the top 10 of the overalls. The bottom ended at 43 there. And again, these are 2-week-old numbers because Parrot's been licensing their numbers over to the site TV Geek. When we look at TV Geek for some more modern numbers, we can see now the worldwide. You're tricky. TV Geek will give you the worldwide Parrots, or click on any number of like 30 countries. So you have to watch. If you're sitting in the U.S., it defaults to worldwide. So Strange New was peaking. This is June 21st and June 22nd. So again, it's nearly 2 weeks old. And the day before, the couple of days before the Prodigy announcement. And even yet, the worldwide peak spiked on Strange New was dropping just a little bit, but it's still a good number. I'm gonna skip over, just look at the US numbers. The US numbers, Picard was falling, as you would expect as we get away. It's still sitting at 31.4, which is, again, in their outstanding range when you apply that. It's a slight downturn on like under 1%, so yay. But then you want to say, well, what about Strange New in the US? Strange New spiked big time those first couple of weeks, and at the moment on the daily track was, the Friday, Saturday was way up there. It's at 47.2%, the average show score. So it's doing great. It says it's number 17 in the top 20 in the US. Okay. Trend line for the last month was at 12%. So Prodigy, the numbers they have from that, the last day is June 22nd, which is the day before I flew, and they announced they canceled it. And we're wiping it off. It was still sitting at 12.8. Then the spike had been going up for the last 3 days. Did somebody leak the news around the country? I don't know. I'm kidding. It's way on down there. It's like number 306 overall. So we get it. It's back down at 12.8 times. But the trend before cancellation was up 73%. I mean, I'm only half kidding about that leaked news. It was doing really well. Next week, we will see if we can catch up with what the numbers look like post announcement. And we'll see if we can get newer numbers for Picard. So the bottom line here is none of this Trek series, they may not be in the top 10, but there are 500, 600 titles out there. The Trek series are all in, even Prodigy was down at 200. See, here's the tragedy about Prodigy too. I have since learned that the whole co-production with Nickelodeon, they were in a stricture with Paramount Plus that they could not show a fresh Nickelodeon showing until 6 months after it had first been on Paramount Plus. Well, now that's out the window now. And Nickelodeon was linearly not streaming. They were on the linear schedule first time on Friday nights, which seems odd. So Nickelodeon has not even begun to reap the harvest of their investment as a studio. It was co-produced by Paramount Plus to distribute, but their end of their payoff really hasn't even come yet. It's kind of sad. So if anything, Nickelodeon is really intent on finding it with a new home. If that's not necessarily Nickelodeon, if they're offering it as a prime plum to one of the other streamers, which is going to be strange. I did talk to Aaron Walke, and we were texting. I was worried about Prodigy being the orphan. We talk now about the showrunners talk to each other. He said, never fear. It'd still be a Kurtzman co-production. It would still be a Secret Hideout co-production. Their production team would still be talking to the other Star Treks to stay in time. So the canon connections, just because it's not all being distributed streaming on Paramount Plus, does not mean the producers and writers, creatives of all kinds, aren't talking back and forth to each other when it's important. So there's that. It would not be this weird, anomalous world. So it was good to hear that. It was good to hear that. And they seem quietly confident that it will land somewhere. It's just bizarre how they had to wipe it off the platform already. I know. Well, we will see what the current weeks bring. We will not be short of topics at San Diego, at Trek Vegas, at all the coming fall cons to come, much less here every week. So I'm glad you're here with me. So let's see who's here. It's a Wednesday, of course, and I have Portal 47 Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable tonight for the States. So we're going to be doing both of these today. It's our regular day on a Wednesday. See how many of our new Portales make it tonight. And we'll see how everybody's been doing here. It's been skipped last week, and it's been a week and a day. And we are back scrolling. Justin, looks like I got some sun. How could you tell? I did my arms just fine. I totally forgot to do my face, which is crazy. Hour and a half in a parade, slow-moving parade in the Palisades for all of our friends with Will. A little outdoors over the week, but we were mostly inside through Oklahoma. Yes. Good to see everybody. Wednesday live. Oh, good news. Thank you, Christoph. Short Trek Season 1 is finally on Paramount Plus Germany, and they're finally dubbing Season 2 too. See, things do move along a little bit in some way. Yes, it's not often you can say Wednesday lifers, but here we are. Glad everybody is. Well, that's nice. Is this a good thing, Dave, that it seems like forever since we were all back together? I hope so. Let's see. Oh, have the writers accepted or refused whatever deal the Writers Guild put to a vote? They haven't put anything to a vote yet. That's why they're on strike. Now, the directors, and I was checking this, the directors put theirs to a vote, and it was, I have not heard this. Apparently it's not, and I had a date in mind. Gang, you're going to have to forgive me. I'm a little sun-addled. But I want to say, I'm not sure when maybe it may not be until in the 20s of July. Somebody can correct me on this if I'm wrong. The actors, meanwhile, were supposed to be deadline. They had a strike authorization to go on strike if they ran out of time at June 30th, if their contract expired without a settlement, without a new contract. They were authorized to strike big time. They took that big time strike authorization and mutually agreed to extend their negotiation past the original deadline, which happens in labor talks. If that signals that both sides sincerely believe the other is acting in good faith and that there's no point in having a strike because they're just needing a little more time. They set July 12th, a week from today, as the union did. They said, we will extend our deadline till then. If they look up and they decide on the 12th, they need a few more days. Okay, they might do that again. If they decide, nope, this was all just been a sham and a show and we're going to have to go on strike after all, we will. What will the writers do either way? A lot of the actors want to be in solidarity with the writers because they have a lot of overlapping issues. There are some issues that only affect the writers, like the writing room abuse and blowing up the whole mentoring, nurturing program and basically gigifying everybody. Actors naturally feel like they're one-off individual agents, and of course they are. That's why their union is so important to them to get out of the box. Writers are basically, all these unions represent people who work one-to-one. They don't have a team. They have no bargaining power on their own. They're little guys who could be put down by the biggest, and there's creativity involved here too, and credits and rights and all that, and having your work abused. And that's why the unions rose in the 30s, and that's why we've had this situation since then, increasingly. And whenever it tends to be new technology. Whenever something new comes along, like the rerun or the video cassette, personal media, or the cable, or the streaming, whenever there's been a new hiccup like that's been, wait a minute, we got to see how we're going to get everybody paid fairly, everybody their fair share, and track it. And the transparency. You see where this is going. The AI situation is a completely new wrinkle on top of that. So that's kind of the standing. We're waiting to see, how the actors' negotiations go. If they make settlements that are acceptable to the writers, but everything the actors do, the actors don't care about writers' rooms. That's still an issue for them. The directors had some kind of an answer on AI. It'll be interesting to see if that actually gets more fleshed out for the actors, who have much more to gain by that. And same thing with the writers. We'll see. But that's where things stand. As it is right now, the writers are still on strike. They're into like week 9, I think. It's been basically 2 months plus. And now one thing that's looming is, will there be any kind of strike effect on Comic-Con San Diego? And I have some sources that I've got questions out to. I want to get a feel for that, a full or a partial, because that may affect who goes down, strike or no strike. If there's an actor's strike, will actors feel like promotion for their shows is crossing the line? I mean, stay tuned, kids. Buckle up. We'll see what all happens. But that's where the status is. And I have not yet heard if there's been a tally on the director's vote on their accepted talk. Thank you. Scott's ever ready there with the full Cadet Alice playlist. We're through episode 114, I think. But the last episode of Cadet Alice was our Red Alert episode. You can see it. Oh, I see you, Christoph. I don't think it's been tallied yet. Yeah, maybe even 3 days. It was wiped off after they announced it. Yes. Frack P plus in that case. And frack the bean counters. There we are. Well, this is a thing, Nathaniel. That's very small d democratic of him to say that. Of course, the thing with Star Trek is we just wanted to have something out there somewhere. And of course, if it was all in one place, it would make it easier for you. It would make it easy. I mean, they could make money promoting it that way if they would do it. It would give you one-stop shopping and not feel like you had to have Netflix and Hulu and Prime and maybe something else. And it could mean that everything was there. We go through periods where some of the movies aren't in home. We might go to a place where some of the series, like right now, don't have a home. It's not just about being in one place, but having everything somewhere. And that was part of the guarantee of it. And it was a great thing to market on until it wasn't. Until they just walked it back. Yeah. What are you saying here, Kyle? They can at least sell season 1 11/20 on Blu-ray. Would that be such a bad? There may have been a plan for that, and the home entertainment side had nothing to do with what streaming is doing. I can totally see that. That would take a lot of. We're still I know it seems hysterical, but some of these decisions are still coming down because we're still in the remarriage honeymoon phase. I mean, have you seen a Star Trek Arabic number 4 yet? No. And what happened to all the talk? I think I said this with Cadet Alice. What happened to all the talk about maybe while we wait on a Star Trek Arabic 4, Kelvin or otherwise, movie, about having Prodigy lead the pack for an animated feature? Emulate SpongeBob a little bit, and just not to replace series, but as you do in live action sometimes, but to feed back people to go back and watch it every day now. What happened to Prodigy being the leader for that? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It kind of loses some symmetry there. Loses the beauty of the words. Enterprise season 4 was. I missed this. They actually announced it as a new season. Okay. They're jealous of that whole. The Cage was the longest pilot to order series ever. Well, this is true. And again, this didn't exist until the 80s, but that's been 40 years now. It's been 40 years. It's not new technology anymore, Larry. Nathaniel, you're saying the problem is that Paramount, because of became more of a besieged castle, wherein Trek, including Prodigy, has been trapped and available to broaden its audience. It's time to move away from that model. Well, that's why I was so thrilled that Prodigy was going to be on, I said it from day one, on Netflix. Yeah, I mean, we started this whole escapade in 2017 when people, it wasn't just the grandmas out there. Lots of people had no idea how streaming worked, what the dynamic was, how this, it wasn't just the fact that I had to pay for it. It was the fact of how the hell did you run this thing? And you've heard my story from the con where people were just thinking they'd never see it because how could they possibly work a streaming machine? Yeah. Well, this would be interesting if Disney Plus, Christoph, actually picked up Prodigy. And renews Orville, yes. They're going to reboot Futurama July 24th and show the new Doctor Who in time to subscribe. Do we really need, on one hand, if they're the only ones with a clue, okay, but do we really need Disney to have their finger in what's left of what they don't already have their toe in? How many pies can they finger? Well, this is the thing. It's all about, hey, Melanie, it's all about the process. Actors, directors, writers, it's just, they did a contract. When does their current contract end? Okay. They start negotiating 3 to 6 months before it ends so that there's no break in the contracts. Part of the inducement to come to a settlement is the mutual desire not to have a gap. No one wants to work without a contract. They don't want to strike if they don't have to. So the impetus is to come up with your new contract before the deadline. If one or both parties are being hard-headed about something and neither side, at least one of the two sides, doesn't approve, then you call a strike. Sometimes you call a pre-authorization strike as a bargaining chip. The writers did that. The actors did that. It was 90+% in favor of a strike if they don't come up with a new contract in time. The writers did not and went on strike. In fact, they were not even talking the last week or two. The producers just walked away. The actors were talking all the way up to the deadline and mutually agreed, both sides, to go until July 12th. We'll see what the world is happening July 12th. The directors got up close to their contract, worked overtime, who is the simplest group, the smallest group we're talking here, the directors. They, kind of the more sit back with your pipe of everybody. And they're the ones who their leadership team settled, and now they are voting. Now, IATSE, the crews, the Teamsters, who are, it sounds bizarre, but the IATSE are all the creative teams, including the art directors and even grips and electricians. All of those guys have different guild locals for the different entities involved. And they have settled. They're done. Just like the Animation Guild, which wants to be in the Writers Guild, but they settled theirs a year ago, which is why the one show that wasn't affected by the writer's strike, Prodigy, along with Lower Decks, is not happening at the moment. So the two shows they could have got back to and been working on are not part of the mix. Right. So that's that. Those guys are not part of this. But the actors, directors, and writers tend to be 1, 2, 3, or the writers tend to be first, and then the actors, directors are kind of a month later, just the way it's been working the last few cycles. We will see. The actors might join the writer's strike on their own if this extension doesn't pan out and nobody wants to extend it, the talks. If they think it's fruitless, they need to go on strike to further their aims, then that's what they'll do. We will hear about it the closer we get to July 12th, or 12 July, as our friends say across the pond. Exactly, Christoph. I clarified you there on that date. Chat GPT wrote you a decent episode of DS9 starting the Aqua Ting Hunger Force. Not for the moment, but we'll see. Maybe down the line. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah. I mean, AI is a tool. As long as it's a tool that's roped in, that's cool. If it's a tool that is being used in the closet surreptitiously to save money, then no. Same thing with the actors. Prodigy really needed to be before the kids first, even if it had the chance to appeal to adults. I know. Well, you remember it was supposed to be that way, and then at the last minute, Paramount Plus rebranded from CBS All Access, and they kind of went, oh, and we're going to put this one in our pot too. Let's see. Good point. AI can't create something out of nothing. AI couldn't have created Tribbles. Oh, okay, Robert. We'll see you later. Hey, whoops. There we go. Hey, Willie. What? Can we please do this? Yes, there we go. Hi. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. We're talking about kids on different schedules. Exactly. I don't know. Oh, hi, Barbara. Are you new to us? Have you been on with us before? You just wanted to say hello, even briefly, can't hang out long, but it's nice to get the chance to say hi. Also, thanks for supporting Prodigy. Sure thing. Is this your first visit with us? If not, welcome to Wednesday Trekland Live, which is almost always on Tuesday. It's only moved this week because of the holiday. It's a holiday delay. Welcome back. Happy Harriman Day. Yeah, not quite Tuesday. I started to watch this, and I think I was on the road somewhere and couldn't get back to it, but I will do that. Keep the kiddie programming on the kiddie channels. Well, now come on. That's a perceptual thing. I liked having Prodigy included in everything Star Trek. It as if you didn't know, but again, when it's new and it's a cartoon, people have a right to ask, is this really not dumbed down baby talk canon? And it's amazing. Again, the best time anomaly episode I've ever seen on Star Trek was on Prodigy, and the best explained time analogy. Can we please move along here? I know, Scott. What is the system that allows studios to be rewarded for declaring their own creations to be failures? Sounds a bit like the plot of The Producers. Yeah, that's been out there. I think so too, Alan. And it doesn't help that, they had the 5 and then 5. And, the 5 split at the beginning. The first 10 had nothing to do with Prodigy. They pushed the debut up because the discovery was delayed by COVID. And they rushed the first part of Prodigy up and then split it so they could go ahead and get Discovery. Yeah. It didn't. It felt very Star Wars at the beginning, which may have been intentional. I need to share all my Share my Aaron Walke lunch conversation with the Portales first soon. I totally agree. I think more and more people are realizing that too. You had the whole DC world miffed about the whole Catgirl debacle. But I promise we will not send the streaming police after you if No Kids U wants to watch a kids channel. Now, what are you saying here, Nathaniel? Kids channels work different. Nick uses the energy of a new show and blast is reportedly throughout the day, repeatedly through the day. Kids get used to it. P Plus is streaming and adult oriented. All the energy that went behind the new show, all the word of mouth, all the promotion was wasted on the P Plus debut. Didn't Melanie? Didn't Discovery start out a few years before Kirk's time? Yes, I think I remember hearing that. I think I read that someplace. Yes. It was basically like 8 years. They were in 2257, 56 maybe. 10 years before season 1 because Strange New Where No Man is 2265 and then a year goes by before The Man Trap and or whatever you want to pull up with. Hey Rose, yes indeed, I see all kinds of people counting the days till Star Trek Las Vegas or Destination Trek UK 44 days. Absolutely, and if nothing else, you just did. And there you go, Christoph, the live action Prodigy fan film. Boom. Thank you for pushing that. Hi, Barbara. So a little more mystery here. Hang with this group briefly. Take care and be back next time I have the chance. Please do. We're normally on Tuesday. Subscribe and you'll know. And surely you did that. They're from Facebook. Thank you for filling in for me there, Christoph. Disco was 10-ish years before that. Yes. Unless they create a new timeline again. The parrot needle's about to drop. Thank you for marking. Hello, Galinda. Once again, yay. The Patreon needle. There we go. And the OU needle. Now what? I always thought it was Marone, not Marone. Oh, you kids. What are you saying here? Hey, analysis. Last week's episode, I assume you mean Strange New Worlds. Why would bridge between Toronto and Buffalo be a target of terrorism? Why? It's major infrastructure. It messes up international flow of traffic in the modern sense, in the current sense. Why would the Twin Towers have been a target of terrorism? What is this? Thank you, Scott, for playing this. Is that Second Opinion? I don't know what that is. What are you saying? You think that bridge blow up was a reference to what the more stupid or martyr-ish among climate fighters do? Well, they hung off the bridge and to try to stop the ships from going out, which made sense. You think Pluto or Tubi will get Prodigy? Well, there's commercials then without a non-commercial. Could be in the family still. Christoph, you've given up on plot points since Calvin. Well, then, Commander, why keep score? Oh ho! What are you asking, Duralta? Do you have a yearly ritual on how to celebrate the 4th of July? What did you do? Have a barbecue? I have over phases of life. When I was a kid, we had our 4th of July growing up. What we did, we always did our fireworks down at my grandma and grandpa Reynolds' house. Sometimes we'd do firecrackers and snakes during the day, but then we did our night stuff down at my grandma's. Then different times. Then when my older brother, the town he lived in, we would be there for several years. When I had our family, what did we do in Oklahoma? I don't know. But the years we lived in Burbank, we just went out on our front lawn, and the fireworks show was just right up the hill from us. And we did that for 10 years. And we really haven't had one. Yesterday was the most structured 4th of July I've had in 10 years. And because I was wearing my Will Rogers Ranch Foundation jacket, figuratively. And we had an entry in their parade to promote some of our rebirthed events that we're doing at the park coming up. So it evolves over time. I mean, the old days when I was a kid, we all the families would make homemade ice cream and get together in somebody's house where we were able to blow fireworks off, and out in the country, and we would do that. And yeah. By the way, I'll just say a barbecue involves actual barbecue. I think what you're talking about, they do this in California. The first time we were out here, we got invited to an extras barbecue from Next Generation as Next Generation was ending. It was 94. I got there. I said, this is amazing. They're going to have barbecue in LA? Okay. We got there. I'm sniffing the air. I don't smell barbecue. They're cooking burgers and hot dogs on the grill. And I said, where's the barbecue? And people looked at me funny. And I said, the invitation said barbecue. And they just, people don't get it. And I said, oh. And they said, why? What would you call this? I said, well, back home, this would be a cookout. Don't promise me barbecue if you're not going to have real barbecue. Okay. Rant off. So anyway, no, we had a pleasant. Yesterday was the most I'd been active for 4th of July in ages and ages. I miss having our own fireworks and firecrackers, though. I do miss that. Never had an injury. Never had a problem. Nickelodeon not only supports the show, it's the studios where they all worked. I went to visit Aaron at Nickelodeon's headquarters in Burbank, the original little Nickelodeon place, right there on Olive, right down from Frank's Cafe, where all the shows use as a diner in their TV shows. So yeah, right down the street, the other end of the street from Warner Brothers, where they're picketing, and Universal and Disney. About a mile and a half away, the writers are picketing, and back down this way, right alongside the 5, in the old downtown, beautiful downtown Burbank, is where the original Nickelodeon offices are. And in the same building, only about 3 times bigger facilities, where all the SpongeBob army is. I don't know, Kyle. I don't know what happens to... I haven't even checked to see if somebody done this. I could go look at my, we could go do this right now. Maybe we'll post some of this. I could do this. These are all news stories. Okay, nothing at the... I'm reading basic... We'll look at that and research it. Maybe somebody will do it on their own here. We will see. But Nickelodeon is the producing studio. Just like Paramount TV is the producing studio for shows, whether they were syndicated like DS9 or they were on a network like UPN. And so far, all the modern shows had been produced by Paramount TV, and the channel was CBS All Access / Paramount Plus. I know it's a little weird thing to wrap your head around too. You remember the way it's a conveyor belt. It's a, yeah. scrolling on the river. Thank you, Christoph. The directors, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking the 23rd or 24th. The writers' vote is open until the 24th. So we will hear on the 24th or 25th, we'll hear if the directors accepted their offer, their deal, their contract renegotiation. So we will know on the 12th if the actors are going to extend or go on strike, or if they settle by the 12th. And then they'll have to vote on it and have a month open. And they're the biggest group. There's more writers. There's more actors in the world. You can't stop them. Thank you. This is kind of true. Yeah, nobody knows about Nickelodeon and Prodigy. Yep. It's kind of a mesh. Could be true, Nadim. And hello, Nadim. I know you've been with us before, but welcome back to this special Wednesday edition of Trekland Tuesdays Live. It feels more like the remarriage chaos phase and the remarriage honeymoon phase. Absolutely. It's been going on now for over a year, nearly 2 years, right? This could be true now that you talk about this, Christoph. Some software thing triggered in as a new season. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was the fear. My new friend in Oklahoma, the big Enterprise fan, bigger than anything else. He's probably pissed. Yeah, and as with all divorces, the kids suffer first and most. Oh, that analogy just goes and goes and goes. It's been 8 years now. It looks like the remarriage is not that much easier on the kids than the divorce was when it comes to Paramount. Absolutely. What now? One dude who copied the source code of the Bing AI got threatened by the AI, so maybe one should think about getting rid of AIs. Well, this is the thing, Cairo. Prodigy is not kiddies TV, and it would be nice if it was on a public channel. Mm-hmm. This is very true, Moo, and good to see you. Some of the best, most thoughtful episodes in a franchise can be and are the animated episodes, and I think most of the DC world might say that. I haven't followed the DC, the Flashverse or whatever they're calling it, but yeah. Did I say? Did I say cat girl? I'm thinking that little Cation girl on Prodigy. Yes, bad girl, not cat girl. I guess Batgirl got my tongue. Yeah. Have we heard anything about the audience age group the Academy show might target, if any? Oh, I think it's, you're like, is it going to be angsty, wangsty CW impersonation? Like the original Starfleet 90210 mock idea? Maybe, but I don't, if so, maybe the way Prodigy or Adult Swim or Lower Decks might skew younger in their ways. I don't think it'll be heavy-handed. I hope it's not heavy-handed. I hope it's not the angst mobile. Well, Glenn, it's only been 11 days, 12 days, Glenn, so we'll try to get over it. Actually, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks since we were all together. Doesn't anyone think all the hard work actors, writers, and people involved would show some appreciation and not cancel Star Trek? Well, yes. I would think you would think that. You would think they just get paid normally and without, all the. I will say this, gang, talking to the writers like at Star Trek Day, it's clear, as I said in the beginning, the main ringleader of the intransigence, of the change can be good. Nobody's fearing change. It's the we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just trying to make more money. And the new kids in town, it's like Netflix tried to ride that wave of, well, we haven't been a studio for 80 years, so we're going to shake things up. And it's like, well, there's a reason things are done the way they are. Or if they change, we do them the right way. We don't just sit here, say, oh, please, we're trying new technology. And finally, 6 or 8 years later, refuse to go, okay, let's adapt to it now. We gave you carte blanche here in the early years to test the new technology. And on the surface, give a lot more people a lot more work. But it's no good if all that does is just lead to creative abuse, to people abuse, employee abuse. So, yes. But I would say that the Star Trek writers, by and large, did not have that much to say about their bosses, their studio. It was really everybody pointing at Netflix and maybe a little less so at Apple. Oh, Galinda, you hide inside on the 4th with headphones. Our dogs, when I was growing up, would go in the garage and get under the cars and just kind of sit there and let for it all to for it to end. It was one day a year. Oh, I see what you're saying. If the Romulans' intent is to slow human progress, why blow up a bridge when they could blow up a country or two? Why no? Oh, stop first contact entirely. If time travel is, well, this is what you got into with the temporal wars. If time travel is an option, why slow human progress instead of destroying it completely? I know. You get to a point where it's like, what? Is this what you do, Christoph? That's sad. I hate it. Analysis, where's home for you? I hate it when city slickers call a cookout a barbecue. I know. But the entirety of all SoCal, there's a chain store here called Barbecues and More. They smell just like metal. It's not, there's no barbecue anywhere to be found. But that's part of what it is. The mentality is that thing is a barbecuer instead of a rotisserie with a smoker in it, No, a barbecue is a grill. But I loved it when they said, well, what do you call it then? I said, a cookout. And they were like, oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah. When you don't come from the land of barbecue, then you don't see it as false advertising. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, no, what is this? What are you saying, Mary? Oh, hi, Mary, by the way. That's how it is in Wisconsin. Burgers on the grill is a cookout. Barbecue sauce on chicken, pulled pork is barbecue. I know. I would say that, and this is where we really get picky, and I could even fight back home about this. To me, barbecue is a sauce that you choose and it's marinated in that sauce. That's barbecue. If you give me meat that I get to choose the barbecue sauce to put on it, that's fine. But that's smoked meat. It's not barbecue. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. A lot of times I'll go somewhere and I might not like the sauce they put on it and I'm stuck with it, so I don't eat much. That's the thing. But for the semantics of it, somebody should say, hi, we're having smoked meats. You can pick your barbecue sauce. Now that would be precise. It's not as romantic as saying, hey, we're going to go out and have some barbecue. Good. What are you getting? Chicken, wings, ribs, chopped beef, sliced beef, beef brisket. And some of the stores have their, you can get mustardy or vinegary or sweet or double sweet. There we go. It is. Nickelodeon is part of the greater Paramount family. Viacom, the old Viacom. Yes, it is. Which is why licensing always had South Park. Pulled pork sounds like meat. It shouldn't be overcooked. It should just be really tender and fall off the bone or be pulled off the bone. There you go. So, Rose, you don't get why there isn't a global streaming platform for all science fiction like this. Well, we used to have a cable channel for that. It was called Sci-Fi. And you know how that went. Eventually, it had wrestlers or something ridiculous. Again, that was the point of Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi originally had the original series, and the current new shows, Next Gen and Voyager and Discovery, were unique to the channel. Oh, wow. Well, you know what? This is when I was traveling. I didn't pay attention. Thank you, Christoph. I totally was out of this and hadn't checked in on it. So the directors took their deal. 41% voted, and 87% of the 41 I was hearing grumbling from the hyphenates, but that apparently did not pan out. Well, there you go. Sorry, gang. We are still spinning here from this trip and then the holiday. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm showing up a little less prepared here, but then again, this topic was supposed to be what I got on the road. So what I got on the road was not current headlines. Prodigy will not be on Nickelodeon either. See, this is like Firefly all over again. Nickelodeon never had the chance to run it because they were hamstrung. I cannot believe that more of the world did not. Anyway. Apparently, Prodigy is making its premiere on Nickelodeon this July 8th, episode 1, Lost and Found. Well, Prodigy has been on Nickelodeon already. So are you finding, is that a new clip? What I want to know is when they're going to get the back 10 of season 1 out there. If that's part of the mix, or if they're just showing the same first 10 over and over again. Well, Glenn, isn't this interesting? Because I know I haven't watched them all to compare that detail, but I know this is basically true. The animated DCs, the Batmans and all, have been winning awards and been critically reviewed for ages. And why they don't just let the animated show writers write live action. There you go. That's same. We used to talk about the line between TV and movies. Well, the line between animation and everything else, it's the same thing that the Animation Guild is seen as second class to the animated writers in the Writers Guild. And the Writers Guild wants them. It's not a matter of, the tag, guys. Oh, thank you. And there's that. You heard back. I can't believe I said cat girl. Yes, right. Thank you guys for keeping me straight. I'm still wiped. I'll come back from a trip like that and then jump in on 2-hour parade. Yeah. The Flash TV thing is the Arrowverse, and the movie TV thing was the DCEU. And we talk about having different people playing Kirk and Spock and Harry Mudd and Sarek. Better than the Snyder Cut and shorter. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, Kyle. I just had this feeling. It's okay. It's okay. Yes. Batgirl was the Orion chick, Marta. Marta. Okay. Yeah, this is really, they may say that, but this is really what it is. They wrote off 4 shows. How can you write? You see, if you paid the money, why would you not show it? At least get your money's worth out of one showing or two. Don't renew it, cancel it, but don't take it away. It's streaming. You don't have to find linear space. The whole thing is madness, madness. That's like saying, I'm sorry, I've run out of pages on my website. No, it's not a book. We're not dealing with crazy. What now? You don't understand. Paramount Plus 8 doesn't have the new films. It doesn't seem to have short tricks. Can't seem to find it. And here's some insider info from Christoph. There's your alarm bells relay system. Rural Northwest Ohio. I'm trying to think. So Ohio, Michigan, Indiana corner. Up that way. Ribs. See, I'm sorry. Ribs is way too labor intensive for the tiny little. Don't give me ribs. You work and work and work, get your hands messy, and you get like sprinkles of meat. It's way. Just give me some good chopped beef that's good. You just eat it. No cutting, no biting with your hands. It's the cleanest, fastest, most food packing, fat providing barbecue there is. Well, right, but if the ultimate product you have on it is barbecue sauce, then I'll call it barbecue. But I'm just saying, when it comes to you as dry meat and you choose the flavor you're going to put on it, the liquid, then that. But all of this to say, it's not hamburgers and hot dogs on a grill. And people to call hamburgers and hot dogs on a grill a barbecue, that's the crime. That's false advertising. But see, they're talking about numbers. Part of what the strikes are about is people finally woke up. Again, the thing that we kid about here every week is just fans going, gosh, I wonder what the most popular show is. Well, here's Parrot Analytics trying to measure it. Here's the digital Nielsen's trying to work out their business their model to figure out what it is, because we don't have it out in the open developed that applies to everything. And the companies know their own numbers, and they're not about to give that up. That's knowledge is power. So part of this is, that's one thing for an audience going, what's the most popular show? But for people needing to get paid and make sure there's a transparency and a validation that if they say there's X many viewings or reruns, the concept of rerun doesn't work in streaming because it's not linear. How many views this episode was shown? You want the exact number, because it's going to be a ticking meter, even more so than it ever was with the source point, right? The source point determined reruns. Whether it was a bomb or not was what you charged for the commercial that went in it. But to tell people, oh, well, we had this on the linear model anyway, it was basically a new paradigm, and the world needs to shift to it. And the techie streamers are trying not to let the model shift and be accurate and fair to the people making the money. We're going to need another 5 years for this whole thing to settle down. But this is also true. They might not have had bad numbers. They might have had bad numbers because they Blue, the initial release, the global release, the cluck. Yeah, the cluck. Yeah. Yes, Pluto is part of the Paramount family, right? You guys. Hamburgers where the patties are marinated in barbecue sauce, would that work? Well, the patties, you have the ground beef or whatever you put together. They're on the grill. You don't put the barbecue sauce. I mean, maybe you do, or maybe it's in the meat you mix, but you don't put the barbecue sauce while they're cooking. Then it would just burn. Or you do it at the very end or something. But no, that's just a cookout. Barbecue is when you've either got the smoked meat and you're going to drown it in the barbecue sauce, or it's made in the sauce. You have a big, you have a big cooker. You come down the street and you can smell it for a block away. That is a barbecue. That's a smoker or a barbecue or smoker. And that, when you can smell it, that's a barbecue. This isn't complicated. You get out of your car and you don't smell barbecue, it ain't a barbecue. Yeah, the Swai channel lost all its good programming. What little they had to begin with. Oh, yay, Barbara. We're glad to have you back with us. Have I caught you up in real time yet? Data-driven means we didn't market it at all, so people didn't jump on it, so it doesn't have high numbers, so we kill it. I can't imagine Star Trek falling into the madness that's engulfed so much of the entertainment world and is stupid like that. It's interesting, Christoph, talking about Pluto being the fixed lineal channel, but you have in the German countries, GSA, 100 fixed schedule web channels, including one with Star Trek only. And in Germany, not Austria, one with audio, English, sci-fi. Hey, analysis. In Japan, a lot of anime writers do end up working live action. Shinzilla. Yeah, well, that's Japan. They had different culture and different history to the industry. Well, I mean, animation is treated completely differently in Japan anyway. It was, the 3-minute Saturday morning stuff here. Okay. Wait, what? Firefly hadn't a cool water cooler moment? Maybe they mean it was robbed because Fox jerked it around so much. I don't know. Okay. Okay. We're going to get the German airing situation all. Good point. Good point, Cairo. Wonder why that is. I wonder what evolved that way. Well, hello, Monsem B1 from Twitch. I'm glad you're there. I started to say you almost look like Will Rogers' dog iron brand there with a couple of extra strokes. Love listening to Australians and Americans talking about barbecues. I'm just saying. For the love of God. Streaming services sound worse than YouTube, and Larry, stop talking about meat making you hungry and making my job. Sorry, we will cut off. I will skip all future drippy barbecue smell references here. Yes, think about the job. Must think job. Baseball statistics. Are we at the end of the chat as we know it? Phew, thank goodness. Well, this is true. It's amazing when Paramount gets going well, then they find a way to screw it up. Nothing like a good old, 1968, 69, 70. The pendulum always comes back to shooting themselves in the foot over something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Of course, the 50th came in a fallow time for production, so nobody felt like spending any money for it. Of course, if they had spent money, you might not have had much more fallow time. Ding dongs. There we go. Barbecue and chill. Hi, May. Well, I mean, I don't eat it all the time. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to. Yes, when it's that's a thing. That could be a thing. These clowns meant Firefly wasn't cool and no one talked about. I'm sorry. Do they know how historic Firefly is? Second only to Star Trek, and in some ways surpasses it as far as the fan movement phenomenon interaction with the show and revival. And then they got screwed on their movie. Alrighty. Thank you, Christoph. Oh, you cut meat for a living. Very interesting. Put another shrimp on the bobby. There we go. Okay, hey everybody, we're back. Now. I should be back on. This is a little dicey. I'm going to be on the road next week, but for right now, I do plan to be on Tuesday at normal time. And as of right now, we have a guest. So I have to see if those two are actually doable. But we will see you back next week, alrighty? I will see the Portales in America here in about 3 hours for the regular monthly Ask Dr. Trek stateside edition, the Prime. Europeans. Woohoo! Europeans, I'm going to be talking to you because I'm traveling next week and we may have to shift the Euro midday Ask Dr. Trek. May get shifted by a day. Maybe a day later. Anyway, we're getting into the crazy time of the year. This is con season, travel, summer, everything. So everybody, thanks for your support. Thanks for your patience. If you want some cool stuff, check out the TeePublic store. You can do that too. But thanks everybody for being here. Again, it was good to get out and see some actual live, even though it was still convention fandom. It was pretty blue collar, get out of your armchair. It's a very short distance away. The Trek and the San Diego Comic-Con audience is a little finer slice, I'll just say. When you get to your regional and local cons, that's easier for people to get to, and you get kind of that vibe that way, and that's what I enjoy seeing. It was interesting to find people that go against the grain of what you assume is true. Finding people that thought Picard was okay, but it wasn't the best thing since sliced bread. It wasn't the second coming. That kind of thing. And meanwhile, if you do want to see something that's the coolest thing since sliced bread, and you're a Trek fan, remember, if you're coming to SoCal or you're thinking about it, make sure and reach out to me ahead of time. We will set this all up, no surprises. A day for locations from famous old and new Star Treks. You pick it. I will help you coordinate. Then I will pick you up. We'll go around. We'll handle all your cosplay, all your props, whatever you got. We'll have a fast food lunch. And hopefully no hiccups is the main thing. And you're not having to do it. You don't think about the traffic or the entry hoo-ha. You sit back and let me get you there, as well as download all the deep dive info across from Picard all the way back to the original series that you could ever possibly hope to want. And of course, since it's from Trekland, it's accurate. Okay. Also want to thank, of course, all of our Patreons at the TTL Club and our live wires. Thank you all so much for being there every month. And if you want to check out what's going on with my Patreon, it's right there, patreon.com/Trekland Live. Again, 2 simple, very simple tiers, $5 and $10 a month. That's all it is for the shout out. And you $10 folks get access to all the behind the scenes creatives from the first 2 or 3 years of Portal 47 as I dole them out. So I don't want you to overdose too much anywhere. And of course, the Trek Files is back this week. Thomas Rohn is my guest back again. You want to check that out. On Facebook is where the documents are. Some cool things. Or wherever you catch your podcasts. And make sure you please do subscribe on YouTube. We're slowly getting there, everybody. Hit the bell, do all the things. You can still see us on Facebook. Larry Nemechek's Trekland there, and Instagram. You can see our Will Rogers pictures on my Instagram. It's not Trek exclusive. It's like my Twitter. So you get a little taste of everything Dr. Trek is up to. Yeah. Larry Nemechek on the Twitter, and Portal47.net if you are intrigued by what I talk about. Sharing my archives and sharing my Rolodex. Basically, it's all the Star Trek you had no idea about. I just did a time traveler yesterday, you would think, if you can hear that siren. But gang, thanks a lot for joining me here on a special Wednesday. It won't matter next week. We'll be back to Tuesday. Whatever's happening, enjoy your trek. Stay healthy, do all the things. Stay woke, check your sources. And in short, trek well.